Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Chad Morgan, and sexism in gaming, the words heard round the world, have come home to roost, and G4 is no more. And now I was too young to really be involved in the original G4 and never actually watched it, and I've kind of covered this news over the last year, a little bit here and there, not really going into super depth about it, but it's been an incredible story to see what happens when wokeness infests the gaming sphere, and it's really just up to the customers to say whether or not something sinks or floats. And this has just been a beautiful thing to see. This is a victory for just normal everyday people who are sick of stuff like this. And this isn't actually about sexism in gaming, and that's what makes this such a funny situation, because Frost, when she started out her rant, all it was about is because she was called out for having a bad take, saying some factually inaccurate stuff. She was saying stuff about PlayStation and Xbox exclusives, saying the PS5 was dead on arrival, that no one was going to buy it, and that was just factually wrong. And so she decided that since people were calling her out, rightfully so, that she was going to make this stance as a defense mechanism against being wrong. It's like, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong, I got for JJ. And that's what spiraled all this. Now, I definitely don't think G4 would have lasted much longer with or without this rant. It's just an early 21st century model that doesn't work anymore. So it was never going to work, in my opinion. This just highly accelerated the process, and it's been a beautiful journey to watch. But just a brief recap, it all started with these words:
sexism in gaming.
We all love that video just because of how cringe it is, and everyone's clapping in the background. Now, we've heard rumors about how it's all edited together. Everyone was actually in stunned silence because she wasn't supposed to do this. We don't know exactly for sure, but I have definitely heard that. And after this came out, all the studio heads, all Adam Sessler, all of them were like, we stand with Frost. We love her. She did what we wanted her to do. She's great. She's breaking glass ceilings. And that was kind of the end of it for a few months until earlier last month, G4 was hit with mass layoffs, and everyone's like, all right, what is going on here? Are things looking bad? Is this kind of fallout finally? You know, they wanted to let the storm of the internet pass over before they actually started doing repercussions of that rant and the dip in viewership that they received right after it. That's what we kind of thought. And Frost, she just made it worse for herself once again. She's just rife for content because every decision she makes is completely insane. Right after these mass layoffs, she tweeted this out. And when I saw this, I just could not believe that she had said something like this. After a lot of her coworkers had been fired, she said, I survived. Yo, let's play some games. Jesus Christ, that is so insensitive and out of touch. And then later on, she was actually fired, and it was a beautiful thing to see. They bought out her contract, but that was a month ago. Didn't really hear anything. And then suddenly this came out that G4 shuts down after a year of relaunch, and this is coming from the CEO of Comcast. And it was like, oh shit, was this because of Frost? Is this finally the fallout come to fruition? Is this her fault? Is this G4 getting shut down entirely? And it's a beautiful thing to see the consequences of wokeness. Go woke, go broke. And it sucks for a lot of the individual people who work there. I'm sure a lot of people weren't involved in this, and they're not being treated well. According to a bunch of these tweets, this is how they found out. This announcement on Twitter is how that they found out on Deadline. It's like, yeah, this is how I found out. And apparently they're not getting severance packages, and I feel bad for the individual people. That sucks. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. It's just the repercussions with Adam Sessler and Frost have been beautiful to see, and it's all right to celebrate the death of G4 in those cases, but I do want to say sympathies go out to those who lost their jobs who didn't have anything to do with this travesty. But the really interesting news that finally got me to want to actually talk about this happened late last night, and that was Frost tweeting out about this whole situation. And it is a beautiful thing to see the coping that she must go through to justify everything that's happening and make it not her fault. Just like that bad take that she had that began this horrible chain of events, she's still coping and making it not her fault. Frost said, my Sexism in Gaming segment was approved by all executive showrunners at XPLAY. We've heard differently, but it wouldn't surprise me. When I was originally hired at the cast, G4 made the internal statement that diversity and inclusion was what it was built on to fix the past. I don't like that it's saying fix the past. That is not something you want to hear, but all the companies are almost required to have statements like that these days, and I hate that. But it could have just been, hey, we love diversity and inclusion. It wasn't an actual approval statement to her rant, and it seems like that's what she took as approval. I'm wondering if she just got, an HR memo that said, we love diversity and inclusion, checking the box. Fox is doing what they legally need to do. And she's like, oh, they're saying that I can just do whatever I want. And that's what led to the sexism in gaming, right? I think that would be an explanation that would marry her excuses here with the showrunners and the executives saying, hey, we didn't approve this. So I think that would marry is that she misunderstood a legally mandated memo. I was fully supported initially until doxing and threats. Still no proof provided. It's just people calling her out on her shit. That's the same thing that we see in all this stuff. It's threats and doxing, racism, bigotry is all thrown out there. These labels, these accusations, but they rarely, if ever, have proof. And if they do, it is such a minute segment that it does not justify calling the entire fan base, the entire audience, all of these heinous things. I've gotten a lot worse stuff than some of these people have talked about. I have those receipts. It's okay. It's also part of being on the internet, but it's such a small, minute portion of it that it's not worth calling your broader audience all these hateful things. And it's just what it's like being on the internet. She continued. Then I asked for support multiple times and was ignored, and directly led to about support coming, no guidelines, no plans, no help. Yeah, they kind of just let her out to the sharks because it was her fault. So they were just kind of leading her along until they could safely fire her after the Twitter storm had ended. That's what I believe happened. And now this is the last thing I'll ever say about G4. People who worked with were great. Love you. That's fine. And I do want to celebrate this with the wonderful Perry Chan edit. Just
Friday night tights. You're about to get frostbitten.
Get him! I just love that music video. Had to play a couple seconds of it. Hail to Perry Chan and Roddick for doing that. But this is just so out of touch. Just like this rant, she just can't keep her foot out of her mouth. She's just constantly going to come up with stuff to justify her position, make it not her fault. And it's a very immature series of events. It's all because of a lack of self-confidence. And that's really what led to all of this G4 stuff happening when it did, how it happened, is because she is a child. She could not take that she had a bad opinion, that she had a bad take to start out all this. And then she started celebrating when she didn't get fired, which is in bad taste. And then she started blaming the executives and saying it's not my fault. This is something you see in children who haven't developed a moral backbone yet. And so childness in Hollywood, in entertainment, led to this, and we've seen that so many times. And lastly, Adam Sessler is still freaking out about all this, coping from him as well, more childish behavior. And so that's something that we've seen before, is no one's professional anymore. There's no such thing as professionalism in Hollywood or entertainment, and it leads to wokeness. It leads to all this type of stuff because people can't act like adults anymore, and consequences come from behaving unprofessionally, and that's all this is at the end of the day. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.